Seeing the dog barking frantically at the cliff below, the man immediately walked over to the dog and looked down. Upon discovering a sailor lying motionless on the ground, he promptly called out to his two companions following behind. The experienced Thomas turned and instructed him to go inside for a rope, then worked with James to secure it around the sailor's body. As the frailest man in the group, Donald was tasked with rappelling down the cliff. After landing safely, he turned the man over and pressed his ear close to the face to listen carefully. Upon confirming the man was no longer breathing, Donald turned his attention to the wooden crate behind him. He secured it with rope and instructed his companions to haul it up first. But then disaster struck. The sailor, seemingly lifeless moments before, suddenly sprang up and ambushed Donald. Caught completely off guard, he was pinned to the ground and brutally beaten. The sailor then turned to seize the crate, but its mid-air height made it unreachable. His rage shifted back to Donald. Grabbing his ankles, the sailor dragged him along the cliff face. Frail and helpless, Donald could only watch as the sailor forced him into the sea. The two men on the cliff watched in panic. They immediately untied the rope and secured it around themselves, but before they could descend, Donald was already drowning, nearly suffocating. In his panic, he grabbed a rock from the seabed and hurled it with all his might at the sailor. The already weakened sailor took 2 blows to the head and, as expected, died instantly. Returning to the cabin, Donald was filled with dread, fearing he would be branded a murderer upon returning to town. Thomas reassured him, telling him not to worry. His actions fully met the criteria for self-defense. Just then, James suddenly entered carrying tools. He wanted to open the crate to see what could have driven a sailor to such madness. Thomas quickly rose to stop him. With his seasoned experience, he knew the sea held all manner of strange occurrences, and opening this chest could very well invite disaster. James reluctantly abandoned his plan. Yet deep into the night, Thomas could no longer resist his curiosity. He crept toward the wooden chest with an oil lamp, retrieved a toolbox from a drawer, and quietly pried the chest open. What he saw inside sent a cold sweat down his back. Hidden at the bottom lay 10 gold bars. Yet instead of taking them, he wrapped them in cloth and placed them back inside, for he knew this was no fortune, but a blade capable of corrupting souls. But the next morning, when he returned to the room, he discovered that Donald and the other man had already pried open the chest. They were waving the gold bars excitedly, as if they had already claimed this fortune as their own. The guilt from yesterday's murder had long since vanished. Thomas, however, looked deeply troubled. So many gold bars meant third parties were surely searching for them. Their current situation was far from promising. Moreover, keeping the gold bars would make it impossible to explain the sailor's death. Outsiders would mistakenly assume they had murdered for profit, a concept entirely different from self-defense. He refused to let material possessions ruin his 25-year career.